Boom, we're back at it, Chinch.
Funbag time.
Friday's here.
I love
Friday's here, baby. What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm hanging in there. Weather's pretty good. Little rain, little storms, but it's starting to feel like summer finally around here. The same about you?
Dude, it's hot out here in Pittsburgh, dude. Yeah, I always feel like the same weather you guys get out there in New York, we get in Pittsburgh. So
yeah, we're in the same stream or something like that. But
same stream, yeah.
Speaking of hot, we're starting off with a subject that is actually football related more so than baseball related because so many layers to this, and you have a personal story from a manager who spoke about this too. So let me just get to it quick. Tommy Pham, jacked jock, Pederson, in the outfield before a game between the two teams because of their fantasy football situation. I believe it had something to do with one of the players of on him, whatever. It was fantasy football related, slapping a grill.
It was like Jock Pederson sent a gif out or something about the Padres sucking or something when Pham was there. I don't know.
Whatever it was. Then it gets to a point, they dragged poor Mike Trout into this. I've never said poor Mike Trout before. Dragged him to it, calls him a shitty commissioner of the Fantasy Football League. First of all, this is a really legitimate Fantasy Football League that's going on there. All right, forget about all of that. I'm watching, I think it was a Yes Network the other day, and somebody asked Aaron Boone if he had seen it, and he goes, yeah, I saw it. And he goes, I've been through the same kind of thing. Fantasy football gets intense. In a league I was in back in the day with the Reds, me and Pete Harnisch got into it real bad. Now, that made me think, as soon as I saw that, I jumped out of my seat because I'm like, wait a minute, that's the league that Casey said he's been in with those guys for like, how long? Like 15 years or something?
23 years, bro.
23 years. Take us inside the story of Boone and Harnisch. Please.
23 years we've been doing this, bro, since the 1999 Reds.
Yeah.
The people in the league, it's like me, Booney, Steve Avery, Denny Nagel, Harnisch, who else? Dunner's in it, Adam Dunn, Austin Kearns, Greg Vaughn's in it.
Wow.
We've had a lot of cool dudes. And, yeah, I remember this. Harnisch is the commissioner, which is, first off, it's the worst freaking job, man. Like, if I had to be the commissioner for fantasy football, I'd be like, fellas, good luck. Yeah. I'm out of here. Like, no. It's such a hassle of a job.
It's offensive lineman. Either you give up the sack and everybody hates you, or nobody knows what you're doing. That's the thing with the commissioner.
Harnisch does it well. He really does, man. And one year, I remember this, Booney would propose the trade down the stretch. And I think Harnisch nixed it. As the commissioner, he's like, that doesn't look like a fair trade. And then Booney came in with his cavalry. You know what I mean? He got like, he got different reporters and lawyers to come in and, refute the trade that it was fair. And I think Harnisch was just like, you know what? Screw this, whatever. And he was like, he's kind of like, him and Booney start butting heads. And then Harnisch finally gave in and let the trade go through. But they weren't happy with each other, and like everyone, we were all kind of bickering back and forth about the trade going through. And I think Booney might have won it too because of that trade. We're like, no way, Booney, you gotta be kidding me. Come on, Harnisch, can't believe that the trade go through. And then Pete was like, you know what, I'm done being commissioner, but he's still our commissioner. Back in the day, he's like, this is what a headache.
Oh my god, dude,
there was no slap. There was no slap. Like I don't think Harnisch and Pete and Harnisch and Booney would ever go to blows.
No, Booney was, by the way, when Booney mentioned this on that interview, he was hysterically laughing. Like, he's like, I get it. I don't know. Fantasy football gets so intense, and I have to assume, you don't have to say how much money is involved, but when it involves former Major League or current Major League Baseball players, I'm sure your stakes are a little higher than most people in those leagues. Am I being accurate there?
Chinch, there's no money involved, man. It's just having fun, bro. It's just having
You're such a liar. That's your next freaking Escalade is going to be if you win next year's fantasy football. I'm bullshit artist. You know what's really funny? I'll say this real quick. Just popped in my head. Back when I was at Cold Pizza, so that was like in the mid 2000s. We had this guy Mark Cannizzaro, very good writer, covered the New York Jets a lot. And he was reality. And we had this guy come in, and he was fantasy. And we used to do this segment. This guy, Gabe Goodman, I remember, was a producer of it. He's gone on to do great things. And so it was fantasy versus reality. And I was like, what is this? What are we doing? Whatever. The guy who was the fantasy guy was Matthew Berry. Matthew Berry of ESPN, who is arguably the #1 fantasy analyst in the world right now. And back then it was like, fantasy football, whatever. Then you started getting into it. Now I'm just as obsessed. I've probably gotten into some arguments over my fantasy football leagues in the past too, but it is a fun thing to do.
It does get serious, and guys, you can see why, the real GMs in the world, how it plays out, because like you think you're really a GM and that you really know what you're doing and all this stuff, and it's almost ridiculous. It's almost like this world is. I remember, dude, I was with the Mets I was playing the Mets one time in 2005. And this just popped into my head. Playing the Mets in 2005. I had a big year in 2004. 324, 24 bombs, 99 ribbies, 950 OPS. I was a fantasy. In fact, you had me on your fantasy team. You're like, boom, this guy won us some games. Well, in 2005, I come out, I'm just poop soup. I just can't get it going. I'm, don't have many homers, whatever. I'm not hitting that great. And I remember I'm on deck at Shea, and fans like, come on, Casey. You're killing my fantasy team. He's like, I need 2004 Casey, 2005 Casey's killing my fantasy team. And I remember turning to the guy because I was so pissed off. The guy's berating me right here. I turn around. I was like, hey, get a life, dude.
So good.
Meanwhile, when the football season starts,
you're locked.
I'm berating the TV like, this guy sucks,
I remember one kid in one of my leagues, this is the last point on this, like a friend, and like somebody tried to make a trade that was a little shady, whatever, and I just remember we were on like this group phone call, and this guy's screaming, you're ruining the integrity of the league. You're ruining the integrity of the league. And I was like, dude, it's just an online, whatever. But hey, there's a lot of bucks to be had in it. I can't. Yeah. One day, once we get off the air, I'm going to ask you how much the dues are to your fantasy league and how much people
free,
win.
Bro. It's no dues.
Yeah, okay.
Free.
All right. All right. Anyway, moving on to actual baseball news. 3 guys right now on fire last 2 weeks. Mookie Betts, Paul Goldschmidt, Trevor Story, who was, oh my God, in Boston. They wanted to kick him out of the league in after Game 3, and now he's like everybody's favorite Patriot.
right. Now they love him.
So talk to us about those guys getting hot, and sometimes also maybe how that first month and a half of the season, sometimes you're finding yourself, and maybe you hit it when you get there.
Yeah, and I think too, with a shortened spring training, sometimes you just don't get going. You know what I mean? And then you get in the pressure cooker. Then the anxiety kicks in. You're off to a slow start. You try to get it going, and that doesn't work. So you just got to really rely on, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The thing about, you talk about Story, Goldschmidt, and Betts. These are all veteran players. So the biggest thing about being a veteran player is you learn how to recover faster than maybe a guy that's first in the league. You're first in the league. You're like, oh man, I don't know what's going on here. Your head's spinning. You're trying to impress everybody. You got 18 coaches telling you how to hit. You got the freaking taxi driver telling you how to hit. Your dad's calling. Your mom's calling you. She's saying why you swinging at that slider. Yeah. It can be just a mental grind. But as a veteran player, you understand what it takes to recover faster. So you watch, these guys, and, Goldschmidt's playing at an MVP caliber level right now. So's Trevor Story, with what he's done these last few weeks. And Mookie Betts is back to the guy that we saw in Boston, when he was winning MVPs. And we used to talk about him and Trout being 2 of the best players in the game. Who's better, Betts or Trout? Now you're kind of having that conversation again where Mookie's sneaking into that upper echelon again. So, it's awesome to see. It's awesome for the game. And for a guy like Trevor Story, bro, that's going to Boston, that's not an easy place to play in the first place. It's not Colorado where it's really laid back. In Boston, the expectations are just so high, and expectations are, so up here that, I think initially when he came out the gate scuffling, everyone, in Boston, you hear the boo birds and you hear them quickly, especially when you sign for, big money.
Right.
So,
and especially since your fan base loves the shortstop that's there already who doesn't have a contract. Yeah. Perfect storm for Story.
Yes. Yeah, that's an interesting story. We'll see what happens there. But, Trevor Story comes in to play second base. He's not even playing, shortstop. So, but yeah, man, back of the baseball card doesn't lie, Chinch.
Yeah.
Look at the back of everyone's baseball card. You're going to be somewhere around there at the end of the year. So if you're hitting $140 in April, you're probably going to hit 420 in May if the back of the baseball card says you're really a 280 hitter.
Yeah. Now, do you guys put perspective on it to, like, if I'm sitting here as, like, the producer, like, okay, well, why is this guy struggling or not? Sometimes you can look at things and go, wow, the way the season has played out so far, maybe you're not the best cold weather hitter, and your first 2 weeks are in freezing cold weather or rains and whatever. Or the second part to that is, if I look back and did more research on this, like, maybe there have to be stretches where you face like 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s in a row sometimes, just because of how it plays out. Does that happen? Do you think that, like, because you could get, okay, number 1, let's just say back in the day, I'm getting Randy Johnson on Tuesday, and then I'm getting Clemens on Wednesday. So you might be 0 for 8 in those 2 games, no matter what you do, no matter how good you're playing. Does that factor in to the pro ball player, or you're just grinding?
No, that factors in, but you're going to hit those guys too. So it kind of factors into part of the grind. Wow, you're going to run into stretches where I know we go to Atlanta and face Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine. You're like, holy God. Then you'd go to Houston, you'd face Clemens, Pettit, Oswalt, with Lidge, Dotel, and Wagner coming out of the pen. You'd be like, holy shit. Like, is there any breaks? Are there any breaks here facing these guys? I think that's the toughest thing about big league baseball is this. Like, I watch my sons playing Division I baseball, and you watch some of the games, you're like, man, they might face one guy that's really nasty, and then the rest of the time they're facing guys that are very average. They're giving you 2-3 pitches to hit in a bat. As you get to the minor leagues, pro ball, you face guys that are you might face a really tough guy. Then you get to the bullpen, you're like, these guys aren't that good. You get to the big leagues, dude, it's relentless.
Yeah.
Your starters are nasty. Your 4 or 5 starters are even nasty compared to the minor leaguers.
Right.
But then these guys come out of the pen. Everybody nowadays throwing 97 to 101, 104. So it's like there's never a break. So you gotta, to be a good Major League Baseball player, especially a hitter, you got to learn to hit good pitching. And like I said, when you look at the guys that came out the gate scuffling, they're veteran guys, and now they're getting really hot. And so now those guys that are on the mound going, oh, my God, we're facing veteran hitters. You make a mistake to these guys, they're going to make you pay.
Yeah. On the flip side, too, you always see there's a couple young rookies or second-year guys who in that first 3 weeks of the season, oh, my God, they got 7 homers. This guy's going to be amazing. And then the flip side happens. The pitchers catch up with the hitters sometimes, too, right?
Yeah, the league adjusts quickly, bro. And the analytics nowadays, like, hey, man, this guy's crushing heaters. You start throwing him a million sliders, we're going to get this guy out. But then, if you're a good player, you adjust back to the league. Look at Paul Goldschmidt, dude. This year, he's one of the best hitters against sliders. Well, in these last few years, he's been getting a ton of sliders, and he hasn't hit that well against them. Guess what? You throw Paul Goldschmidt a slider now, you're going to pay dearly for it. And that's just him adjusting to the league. Like, hey, I got to be better at hitting these sliders, especially from right-handers, or I'm going to keep scuffling. Like, obviously, last year he had a good year back in the MVP race. But the years before that, he was like just average. You're like, what's wrong with Goldschmidt? Well, guess what? He's back because the league adjusted in him, and he readjusted.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff there. All right, let's go to your home of Pennsylvania, where for the first time in a while, the Pittsburgh team from Pennsylvania is a lot more promising and has a lot more positive newspaper stories than the Philly team from Pennsylvania. What is the deal with that?
Yeah, well, the Pirates just swept the Dodgers, which is crazy. They're just kind of grinders, man. Listen, Derek Shelton, their manager, I love him. Shelty's a great manager. I think they're just, he's having them believe that they can figure it out. I think their bullpen has been one of the big reasons that they've kind of stayed in games. I mean, there are a lot of guys in that bullpen that have been doing well. Brian Hayes is having a nice year, nothing overly crazy. Reynolds is starting to pick it up a little bit. Michael Chavis, who came over from the Red Sox, was with Ben Cherington over there back in the day. He's been a nice pickup, man. He's hitting 298, close to 300. He's got 5 home runs, 18 ribbies. So he's a guy that's done pretty well. They got some good guys that are still coming that aren't there yet, but they're just grinders, man. They figured out a way to sweep LA. And, if you're in Philadelphia, problem is they make big money there. They're expecting to win ball games. They're sitting at a 22-29 right now. And they're, just that bullpen's been not doing great. You look at some of the numbers here. Schwarber's getting it going, but he's sitting below 200. Yep. Castellanos has hit pretty well. Real Muto's been okay. Thank God they have the DH, or Harper would have been out all this time. Harper's had that strained UCL, right? But because there's the universal DH now, he's been able to stay in the lineup. He's really been the one bright spot in that lineup. But I think the pitching for them, the back end of that pen, has just been okay.
Right. And it's falling on the manager. Man, everybody keeps talking about him being on a hot seat. I hope Joe Girardi can, he's Joe Girardi. Those years with the Yankees, love him or hate him, he was managing the New York Yankees to success. You gotta give him how short do you have to have with a leash? I get it's Philadelphia. It's just if he was struggling in Pittsburgh, we wouldn't be talking about it. But it's Philadelphia, and man, they might be the toughest of all the media, to be honest.
It's like Aaron Boone last year. Remember, they're calling for his job. They were 51-50. They end up, I don't know if I think they made the playoffs or whatever. And now they're the best team in baseball. And Aaron Boone's a great manager. Boone's a great manager. Same kind of thing with Joe. Joe's a great manager. You can't manage guys blowing saves, or you can't manage guys having bad starts. I mean, eventually they got to get the pieces in the right place where they mesh to be the dominant team that should be, because they got a great lineup. And, they just got to put it all together. Yeah. I think they will, though. I think they're way better than what they played. They've underachieved so bad.
I agree, and I'm kind of pulling for them. I hate when it's so early. Let them fight through this and see what happens.
Yeah. Look at the Braves last year, dude. They were under 500 into July.
Right. Yes. And then they catch fire. What about about that Marlins team back in the day when they fired the Torborg, and then they get what's his name? Captain Jack
McKeon.
And then they go on a tear. It's a long season. Right. You always say it's a long season.
You just if you have one dominant month, you're like, oh man, look at the Phillies. They just went 20-7.
Yeah.
And now they're having a great year.
Right. It's unbelievable. All right. Well, another pretty amazing story, cool story. There is a Clemens back in the big leagues wearing number 21. Crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome, dude? Cody Clemens, what a great kid, too. I coached him at the Under Armour All-American game back in Wrigley a few years back, and Roger's there with his wife, and they're just really having enjoying him being there. I just texted Roger the other day. I said, let's go, bro. I mean, come on, man. You got to be such a proud dad. All the things that Clemens has accomplished in his big league career. Roger, I mean, all the Cy Youngs, all that stuff. I bet you he traded all in because his son Cody got called up to the big leagues.
So
and
cool.
Nothing like a father, getting a chance to watch his son make that, the evolution of a player and make the grind of the minors and make it up to the big leagues. And he already has a Capital One Premier play, man, dive and play in left field. And, just it's exciting, man. It's exciting when you see guys that were big players in the big leagues. See
especially
their kids
your dad. But for Cody, you got. I mean, your dad is Roger Clemens. People say, "Oh, you're a kid of a major league player. You have it easy." There's a flip side to that. How many times did he walk onto a field where somebody talked a little crap to him? Oh yeah, you're not as good as your dad, or your dad's this, or your dad's that, and you gotta have the intestinal fortitude to still keep fighting and keep working hard. And I'm happy that Cody is getting a recognition for that.
That's the one thing I think when you play baseball and when you're a public figure or just in life in general for all of us, you really got to work on your anti-fragile confidence. It's one thing to have confidence. It's one thing to, hey, you're this and that. But another thing to have anti-fragile confidence where you're like, hey, bro, bring it on, or man, that doesn't affect me, or the old man in the arena. Like I don't take advice from spectators. You hear all these people, but hey, listen, unless you're in the arena, it doesn't really matter. And I think Cody Clemens, probably being Roger Clemens' son, you got to get the thick skin. You got to have the anti-fragile confidence where you're like, this stuff doesn't bother you. That's the only way you're going to do well in that profession.
No, I love it. By the way, did Clemens get back to you, and did you ask him to come on our show? Because we need. He
got back to me, but I haven't asked him to come on the show yet. But I will. Roger,
next time Cody hits a grand
which
slam.
you're probably not. We're coming for you.
All right. Well, that was a fun bag. By the way, I know everybody, there's a big holiday weekend last weekend. If you haven't caught up on the last show, who do we have on? Your boy?
Yeah, man. Oh, dude, one of my people always ask you, who's your best friend in the game? Chris Rietzman was my guy, man. Like, just loved Reitz to death. Obviously, you have a lot of great friends, but Reitz and I always, we played 3 years together in Cincy, but we connected big time. We had Reitz on last week. He's out there in Calgary, Canada, just doing his thing. And what an awesome, awesome dude. So, and such a great story. So if you haven't caught that episode, tune in. You will love it.
Yeah, and I am.
We got some great skiing stories too.
Oh yeah, very good skiing stories. Unbelievable. You got to hear them if you haven't heard them yet. Crazy, like all timer. I was nervous the whole time I was listening to them talk. And then I am extremely excited. Like, I'm kind of fanning out. You need to teach me how to not fan out too much with this. Jeff Morrow, Food Network, one of my favorites, the Sandwich King, coming on next week. Dude,
what a great dude too, bro. What was on a show with him called The Kitchen back in the day. Oh, was such a great guy. The Sandwich King, big personality on the Food Network. He's going to come on. He's got a great story, and he makes great. Maybe we'll see if he can send us some of his sandwiches too.
Oh, Casey Sean has a question. I wrote it down yesterday. I'm not going to say it out loud, but Sean has the most insane, amazing, greatest question to ask him that you have to hear, because I cannot wait to we're going to talk to him in a couple of days. I cannot wait to hear his answer to this, because it's putting him on the spot.
It's going to be awesome, bro. It's going to be awesome.
Nice. All right. Well, big weekend. Everybody enjoy. It's summertime. Get out there. Get some air. Hang out with your family.
Barbecue. Go to some baseball games. Barbecue. Throw catch with your kids in the yard.
Yeah, for Christ's sake. One time, have a catch with your kid. Jesus.
Dude, what was the thing called? Remember the game you used to play? It was like they were like arrows, and you'd throw them and try to get them in a circle.
Lawn
but
darts.
It starts stabbing like people in the heart. Like
lawn darts.
Guys down. Jarts. Or lawn darts or something.
Yeah, now they make them like rubbery and plastic. These wimpy kids
now
these
they're
days.
Like back when we were playing, you could actually die.
You could pierce an artery or a heart very quickly back in the day. And there was always usually a couple beers involved in those. Not a good combo,
dude. Not good. Not a good combo.
Anyway, so don't do that. If you're gonna get lawn darts, get the safe ones. But enjoy your weekend, everybody, and make sure you catch up on our shows.
Oh, love it. All right, Chichi, love you, brother. Like Harvey Dorfman says, I like that. Be good to yourself, my man. And I'll see you and Jeff next week.
Got it.